Marcus Aurelius once said, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This Stoic wisdom is the perfect starting point for today's discussion. Are you trying to change your partner? Relationships are beautiful, but they can also be challenging, especially when we find ourselves wishing the person we love would be just a little different. Maybe you want them to be more affectionate, more driven, or more attentive. But here's the real question. Is trying to change your partner the right path? This video isn't just about gaining insights. It's an invitation to reflect, participate, and share your thoughts as we explore this deeply personal issue. Stay with us until the end, because this journey is about much more than understanding relationships. It's about self-discovery and emotional growth. Let's get into it. Part 1. The temptation to change your partner. Let's be honest. When you're in a relationship, it's easy to notice the things you wish your partner would do differently. Maybe they leave their clothes all over the house, they're not as ambitious as you'd like them to be, or they don't communicate their feelings the way you do. Whatever the case, many of us feel this temptation to fix or improve our partner in some way. We start off thinking, if they just change this one thing, everything would be perfect. We believe that once they adopt a certain behavior or mindset, the relationship will run smoothly. But here's the reality. Trying to change your partner is a slippery slope. When you focus on what's wrong with them, you set the stage for frustration, resentment, and even conflict. Think about it. How would you feel if someone was constantly trying to change you? Even if their intentions were good, it would probably feel like they weren't accepting or appreciating you for who you are. And that's exactly what happens when we try to change our partner. It communicates to them that they're not enough as they are, which can erode the foundation of trust and intimacy in the relationship. Part 2. Why trying to change your partner doesn't work. So why doesn't trying to change your partner work? There are a few reasons. First, real and lasting change has to come from within the individual. You can't force someone to change if they don't want to, and you certainly can't do it just to meet your expectations. If your partner does change solely to please you, the change is often temporary or resentful. They may start to feel like they're losing their sense of self, or that they're bending to your will just to keep the peace. This kind of change isn't sustainable. On the flip side, if change comes from a genuine desire within your partner, it can be transformative. But that's something they have to arrive at on their own, without pressure from you. Another reason trying to change your partner doesn't work is because it puts your energy into something you can't control, another person. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and other people's behavior isn't one of those things. When you invest your energy into trying to change your partner, you're pouring effort into something you can't control, which leads to frustration. Instead, focus on what you can control, how you respond to the relationship, your own growth, and the expectations you place on yourself. When you attempt to mold your partner into a version of who you think they should be, it creates a subtle but significant power imbalance. You're essentially sending the message, "I know better than you how you should live your life." This mindset not only disrupts the balance of mutual respect in a relationship, but it also turns one partner into the fixer and the other into the project. This dynamic often leads to resentment. Your partner may feel patronized, like they're not good enough as they are, while you become frustrated when they don't meet your expectations. The Stoic approach here is to focus on acceptance and understanding, not control. Relationships thrive on equality, mutual respect, and genuine understanding, not one partner trying to change the other to fit their ideal. Trying to change someone undermines the balance and connection that should exist in a relationship. As Epictetus put it, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are." In relationships, this means accepting your partner as they are without trying to reshape them. Relationships thrive on equality, mutual respect, and understanding, not control. By focusing on changing your partner, you risk undermining the balance and harmony that should exist between you. Part 3. The emotional toll of trying to change your partner. Let's talk about the emotional toll that trying to change your partner can take on both of you. At first, it might seem like you're just trying to improve the relationship. Maybe it even starts with the best of intentions. But over time, the emotional impact runs much deeper, affecting both of you in ways that can slowly erode the foundation of your connection. Let's say you've been in a relationship for a couple of years. Your partner is loving and supportive, but you wish they were more driven in their career. You see so much potential in them, and you believe they could be more successful if only they would push themselves harder. So, you start suggesting ways they could improve, small things at first. Maybe it's gentle encouragement to apply for a promotion or take on a new project at work. But as time goes on, it starts to feel like you're constantly trying to nudge them toward being someone else. For you, this can quickly lead to frustration. You've invested so much emotional energy into these efforts, and when your partner doesn't respond the way you'd hoped, it feels like a personal failure. You might even start to wonder, why aren't they changing? Why don't they see how much better things could be if they just listened to me? This disappointment slowly builds, and before you know it, you're not appreciating the person they are. You're fixated on what they're not. The joy and fulfillment that used to come naturally in your relationship are now replaced with this constant underlying feeling that things are lacking. Every small conversation turns into a chance to fix them, and that's a tiring way to live and love. Now, let's flip the script and look at it from your partner's perspective. Imagine being on the receiving end of this constant push to be someone you're not. No matter how well-intentioned your efforts might be, they feel like subtle criticisms. Your partner may start to think, am I not good enough? Why can't they just accept me for who I am? Even if they initially try to make changes to please you, it's not coming from a genuine place of personal growth. It's driven by the fear of disappointing you. And that can lead to resentment. Think about how that would feel for them. Every conversation about their career becomes a reminder that they're not meeting your expectations. Over time, they may start pulling away emotionally, feeling like they're under constant scrutiny. Instead of feeling secure in your relationship, they're walking on eggshells, wondering if they'll ever be enough in your eyes. What started as small suggestions to help has now planted a seed of insecurity that's quietly growing. In another scenario, maybe it's not about their career at all. Maybe you wish your partner was more outgoing, more social, so you start encouraging them to join you at more events, meet more of your friends. But every time they turn down an invitation, it frustrates you, and you can't help but feel like they're holding the relationship back. Your partner, on the other hand, may feel like they're being pushed into a version of themselves that doesn't feel natural. And even though you're coming from a place of wanting to connect more socially, your partner starts to feel judged for being who they are. These small efforts to change your partner can create a growing emotional distance between the two of you. What could have been moments of acceptance and understanding instead turn into subtle power struggles where one of you is trying to mold the other. And both sides end up feeling misunderstood and disconnected. You're trying to improve the relationship, but in reality you're chipping away at the very foundation of what made it special in the first place. The emotional toll is real. It's not just about frustration for you or insecurity for them. It's about the slow erosion of the connection you both once valued. And it happens in the smallest, most relatable ways, through those subtle attempts to help that slowly start feeling like criticism. Part 4. Why acceptance is key in a relationship. Many people have been in this place, trying to improve their relationship by focusing on what their partner could change. If trying to change your partner doesn't work, then what's the alternative? The answer is simple, but it takes some mental rewiring. Acceptance. It's the key to building a strong, healthy, and fulfilling relationship. But let's be honest, accepting someone fully without trying to tweak or shape them into who you think they should be isn't always easy. Yet this shift in perspective is often where real love and connection start to flourish. Think about it. How much more peaceful would your relationship feel if you stopped focusing on what your partner isn't and started appreciating who they already are? True love means loving someone as they are, not as you wish they would be. This doesn't mean you ignore major red flags or put up with toxic behavior. It means letting go of the idea that your partner needs to meet some idealized version of what you think they should be. Remember, when you first fell for them, it wasn't because they were perfect. It was because they were real, quirks and all. Imagine the weight that would lift from your relationship if you stopped trying to improve your partner and instead celebrated the things that make them unique. Suddenly, the small annoyances that used to frustrate you, their habit of being late or their tendency to get lost in thought, become just part of the person you care about. Those imperfections, those differences, are often the very things that make someone human, and more importantly, make them them. And here's the thing, no two people are exactly alike, and that's a good thing. The differences between you and your partner, whether it's their quiet introspection compared to your outgoing nature or their passion for staying home while you crave adventure, are what make your relationship dynamic and interesting. Instead of wishing they were more like you, what if you embraced those differences? It's those very contrasts that can bring richness to your relationship, offering you a chance to learn, grow, and see the world from a new perspective. Maybe they show you how to slow down while you help them step out of their comfort zone. Instead of fighting the way you see the world differently, lean into it. Think of the balance you create together, where your strengths and weaknesses complement each other, creating something stronger than either of you alone. When you start appreciating those differences instead of resisting them, you deepen your connection. But here's where the real beauty of acceptance comes in. It creates an environment for growth, not pressure. When someone feels accepted for who they are, they naturally start to evolve on their own. It sounds counterintuitive, but the less you push your partner to change, the more they feel safe to grow in ways that might surprise you. When they know you respect and love them as they are, they're more likely to open up, explore, and even improve themselves because they feel secure, not judged. Think about it. If you were constantly told you needed to change, you'd likely shut down or start to resent it. But when you feel loved and supported, you become more open to growth. Relationships aren't about pushing each other to change, but about creating the kind of space where both of you feel empowered to grow naturally, in your own time and in your own ways. For example, if your partner tends to avoid challenges and you've been subtly nudging them to take more risks, imagine what might happen if you stopped pushing and simply supported them. By creating a safe, non-judgmental environment, they might surprise you by stepping up, because they feel encouraged rather than pressured. The reality is, true growth happens when there's acceptance, not control. This idea ties directly to Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the context of a relationship, it's a powerful reminder that you cannot control your partner's nature or how they behave, but you can control how you respond to them. Acceptance doesn't mean you're settling for less or staying stagnant. It means you're fostering the kind of love where both of you can evolve together. It's about releasing the need to shape your partner into someone they're not, and instead, appreciating the beautiful journey of growing alongside them. Part 5. How to encourage growth without trying to change your partner. So, what if there are areas where you'd genuinely like to see growth or improvement in your relationship? Maybe it's better communication, more emotional intimacy, or better habits. Encouraging growth in your relationship doesn't have to come from a place of trying to change your partner. Instead, it can come from a place of mutual respect and teamwork. Take a step back and start by focusing on yourself first. One of the best ways to inspire growth in your partner is by working on your own personal development. Think about it. When you're actively improving yourself, whether that's emotionally, mentally, or even spiritually, you create a ripple effect that can influence the entire dynamic of the relationship. Leading by example shows your partner that growth is not just possible, but also something positive and fulfilling. They'll see the changes you're making, and often that can spark their own desire to grow. This isn't about changing yourself in hopes that your partner will follow. It's about becoming the best version of you, which naturally encourages a healthier, more balanced partnership. It's like how in Stoicism, the focus is always on what's within your control. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." You can't control your partner's growth, but you can control your own. And when you show up fully for yourself, it inspires the people around you. Now, when it comes to areas where you'd like to see improvement, communication is everything. The way you express what's on your mind can make or break the conversation. Instead of criticizing your partner or demanding change, try shifting your language toward encouragement and positive reinforcement. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try something like, "I really appreciate it when you take the time to hear me out. It makes me feel valued." Notice the difference. One approach invites defensiveness, while the other opens the door for understanding and connection. Communication should feel like an invitation to work together, not a critique of what's lacking. When you communicate with kindness, you create an environment where your partner feels safe enough to grow and evolve without fear of being judged. Another key to encouraging growth without trying to change your partner is to view your relationship as a team effort. Instead of seeing your partner as the one who needs to change, shift the focus to how both of you can grow together. When you look at the relationship from a teamwork perspective, the entire mindset changes. You're not fixing someone else. You're working side by side towards shared goals and mutual improvement. Think about a time you and your partner tackled a challenge together, whether it was navigating a difficult decision or finding balance in your daily routines. How much stronger did you feel as a couple? That's the power of collaboration. By approaching growth as a team, the focus shifts from individual shortcomings to a shared path forward. Both of you are growing, learning, and evolving together. This shift in mindset can make a world of difference because now the relationship isn't about one person dragging the other along. It's about both of you moving forward, hand in hand, toward a better version of the relationship as a whole. And make sure to celebrate small wins. Let's be real for a second. Change takes time, and it doesn't always happen at the pace we want. The real progress, the stuff that makes a relationship stronger over time, happens in those small, almost invisible moments. And if you're not paying attention to them, you're missing out on the growth that's already happening right in front of you. Think about it. If you've been waiting for your partner to be more open with their emotions, maybe even for years, and one day they start to share just a little more than usual, that's huge. But instead of noticing the effort they're making, you're still stuck on the fact that they haven't completely transformed into the open, communicative person you've been hoping for. This is where most of us mess up. We're so focused on the final outcome that we overlook the small wins, the small, meaningful steps that are actually moving you both forward. Let's say your partner, who's usually reserved, finally opens up about something personal. It might not be a deep heart-to-heart, but it's a step in the right direction. Instead of brushing it off as not enough, celebrate it. Acknowledge it. Something as simple as, "I really appreciate you sharing that with me," can mean the world. And here's why. When people feel recognized for their efforts, they're more likely to keep going. You can probably think back to a time in your own life when someone acknowledged a small effort you made and how that little bit of recognition encouraged you to keep pushing forward. It's the same in relationships. The more you appreciate the positive shifts, the more your partner will feel motivated to continue growing. Pushing your partner to change will only build walls between you two. They'll start to feel like no matter what they do, it's never enough. That's where resentment creeps in. Encouragement, though, that's where the magic happens. Encouragement creates a safe space for growth, where your partner feels supported and valued for who they are right now, not just for who you want them to be. For example, maybe your partner has been making more of an effort around the house, washing the dishes more often, helping with chores. Instead of pointing out that they still don't help as much as you'd like, acknowledge what they're doing. A simple, "Thanks for handling that," can go a long way. It's not about lowering your standards, it's about appreciating the progress. The more your partner feels appreciated, the more they'll naturally want to step up. This kind of encouragement shows your partner that you're on their side. You're not pushing them to change out of frustration or disappointment. You're supporting them in their own growth journey. And when you foster that kind of supportive environment, growth becomes a natural part of the relationship. You're both evolving, not because you're being pushed into it, but because you feel safe, appreciated, and encouraged to become better together. So, next time you find yourself getting frustrated that things aren't changing fast enough, stop and ask yourself, am I focusing on the small wins? Am I encouraging growth or pushing it? The answer might be the key to unlocking deeper growth in your relationship. Acceptance and encouragement are key to a healthy relationship. But sometimes, despite your best efforts, the differences between you and your partner can start to feel too big to ignore. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of hoping things will improve. But if you've been facing the same issues for a long time, whether it's about values, priorities, or behaviors, you might need to step back and ask yourself some hard questions. First, ask yourself, are your values really aligned? This is huge. It's one thing to have different habits or preferences. Those are things you can usually work through with some patience and good communication. But when the differences go deeper, like your core values or long-term goals, that's when things get trickier. For example, let's say one of you is really focused on financial security and the other tends to be more carefree with money. Or maybe one of you wants kids while the other doesn't. These aren't just minor disagreements. These are fundamental differences that can shape your entire future together. Trying to change your partner's stance on these kinds of issues isn't just unrealistic, it's unfair to both of you. Instead, it's time for an honest conversation about whether you're truly compatible in the long run. Another thing to think about is whether you're growing together or growing apart. Relationships naturally evolve over time, and it's normal for both partners to grow and change. But are you growing in the same direction? If you're constantly working on personal development, emotional growth, or building a deeper connection, but your partner doesn't seem to share that same drive, it can start to feel like you're living two different lives. Maybe you've noticed that the things that once brought you closer now feel like they're pushing you in opposite directions. If you're always pulling in different directions, it's worth asking yourself if the relationship is still serving you both. Are you building a future together, or are you just coasting along and hoping it all works out? If it feels like you're constantly out of sync, it might be time to have an honest conversation about where things are really headed. And then there's the toughest part, knowing when to let go. This is never easy, and it can feel like you're giving up. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and your partner, is to let go of a relationship that just isn't working anymore. If you've tried everything, communication, compromise, patience, but you keep running into the same problems, it might be time to accept that, despite caring deeply for each other, you're not the right match for long-term happiness. Letting go doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're choosing to prioritize your growth and well-being, and sometimes that's the bravest and most compassionate choice you can make. At the end of the day, relationships are meant to support your growth, not stifle it. It's about finding the balance between loving someone as they are and recognizing when the differences are simply too big to bridge. Part 7. Building a relationship based on acceptance and mutual growth. So, what does a healthy, growth-oriented relationship really look like? It's not about perfection or about trying to mold your partner into some idealized version of who you think they should be. It's about creating a space where both of you feel seen, supported, and encouraged to grow, individually and together. It's about accepting each other, flaws and all, while nurturing a connection that helps both of you evolve in meaningful ways. Let's start with something we all know, but don't always practice: open and honest communication. It's the foundation of any successful relationship, and yet it's one of the hardest things to consistently get right. It's so easy to let little frustrations build up, hoping they'll magically go away, or worse, trying to change your partner in small, subtle ways. But here's the truth. If you're not talking about what's bothering you, or if you're trying to manipulate your partner into being different, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Instead, have the tough conversations. But here's the catch. Approach these talks from a place of love, not criticism. It's not about saying, you need to change, but rather, here's how I feel, and here's what I hope we can work on together. When both of you feel heard and understood, it strengthens the emotional connection. You'll create a space where it's safe to be vulnerable, to express needs without fear of judgment, and to grow together. But here's something most people forget. Support each other's individual growth. Yes, you're in a relationship, but you're also two distinct individuals with your own dreams, interests, and goals. One of the biggest mistakes couples make is thinking they need to grow in the exact same ways. But that's not how it works. Your partner might have passions and challenges that don't directly benefit the relationship, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's necessary. For example, let's say your partner wants to start a new hobby or take on a personal challenge. Maybe it's something you don't fully understand, or it doesn't directly affect your life. But that's where true support comes in. Be their biggest cheerleader. celebrate their accomplishments, even if they don't directly involve you. When both of you feel free to grow as individuals, it adds fresh energy to the relationship. It shows that you love them for who they are, not just for the role they play in your life. Now let's talk about something we all need more of: patience and compassion. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes it feels like progress is painfully slow, but expecting immediate change, whether from yourself or your partner, only leads to frustration. Real, lasting growth takes time, and it comes with setbacks. If you want your relationship to be a place of true growth, practice patience, especially when things get tough. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes, and we all grow at different paces. Instead of getting upset when your partner stumbles, show compassion. By being patient and kind when things don't go perfectly, you're creating an environment where both of you feel safe to evolve. It's about being in it for the long haul, understanding that the journey is going to have ups and downs, but you're in it together. Lastly, it's so easy to focus on the things that frustrate you, but a truly healthy relationship thrives when you focus on the positives. Every relationship has areas where there's room for growth, but if all you're doing is zeroing in on what's wrong, you're missing out on all the things that are right. Start making it a habit to appreciate the good, the qualities you love about your partner, the little moments that bring you joy, the things that are going well. Let's be real. Nobody's perfect, and neither is any relationship. But by focusing on the positive, you're creating an atmosphere of appreciation and gratitude, which in turn makes the relationship stronger. And the best part, that positivity becomes contagious. When you're both feeling appreciated and valued, you naturally want to keep growing, not because you have to, but because you want to. A healthy, growth-oriented relationship isn't about forcing change or demanding perfection. It's about creating a space where you both feel free to grow, where you're supporting each other's journeys, and where love and respect guide every step you take together. Conclusion: love your partner for who they are, not who you want them to be. At the end of the day, trying to change your partner is a losing game. It leads to frustration, disappointment, and resentment on both sides. Instead of focusing on what you wish your partner would do differently, embrace them for who they are. Accept their strengths, their quirks, and even their imperfections. After all, none of us are perfect. By cultivating a relationship built on acceptance, respect, and mutual growth, you create a foundation where both you and your partner can thrive together. Growth in a relationship is a journey, and it's one that requires patience, communication, and a lot of love. So if you're struggling with the temptation to change your partner, take a step back and ask yourself, am I focusing on who they are or on who I want them to be? Shift your focus to creating a relationship where both of you can grow authentically, and watch how your connection deepens. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, comment, "I am working on becoming the best version of myself." Subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. What challenges have you faced when it comes to accepting your partner as they are? I'd love to hear your stories. See you in the next video.